Joining us from somewhere around the world, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor. I'm doing well.
God bless you. Amen. Are you ready for the showdown?
Which one?
Well, that's a good question. Well, okay. Well, I've already talked about, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, and now the glacier. So let's go there. The glacier. What are the odds, Mike, that you're going to have this big summit between Putin and Trump in Alaska, and you start having earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, and now a gusher? I mean, this glacier, when it released the water, it's 16.6 feet higher than the Menindee River ever has been.
Yeah.
So is this a prophetic sign of what's taking place here?
I most certainly believe that is a foreshadowing of, I don't think that people realize the potential of what happened there, right? That was in fact a ice dam that burst. That was an ice dam.
Yeah.
That's one of the most dangerous situations we are 100% going to face all over the earth, right? The water event is on its way. And I believe that, the water breaks right before the baby comes, right? That's a true sign.
That's right.
That a baby is coming. But here's what people may not understand. You're looking at areas of high mountain Asia, the Andes, Pacific Northwest, and European Alps, Iceland, Alaska, of course, and Greenland, Central Asia. All of them have ice dams, right? These sometimes are underneath the water too. Pastor, they're melting at an alarming rate.
You said that.
The oceanic ice is almost gone, right? Oceanic ice is. The oceanic ice goes in between the fault lines in subduction zones in certain areas, right? If they're going to start going.
Oh.
That flood was, the whole process is called a glacial lake outburst flood. These are everywhere. They're all over the place. And North America, where we are at right now, especially near San Francisco and those areas, believe it or not, they're going to be greatly affected by these processes.
Really?
Nothing is going to stop them. The only thing that could stop them is if all over the earth temperatures dropped, probably about 3.2 degrees, I believe, on average. If that were to happen and we had consistent cooling, everything would kind of settle down. That's not where it's going. There's a much more dangerous process taking place. And it's not like you have an incident and then 5 years later have another. Nope. The ice melts have already begun. These processes will increase, and only God knows, to what degree, because it could immediately, this could affect 9.3 million people easily.
Okay, I mean, I want to ask you, because I think I heard you say it. You're saying that the ice that's melting affects the fault lines in San Francisco area?
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's probably what caused these 8 quakes today? Okay.
Yes. Especially that last earthquake we had in Russia, it has really shaken some things loose. So we're gonna have a lot more of these dangerous. Remember, we were talking about the Russian 8.8, right?
Yes.
And in the Pacific plate, remember, right across, if you go diagonally from that 8.8 plate, where do you end up?
Cascadia subduction zone.
There you go. And so that's the opposite side of the plate. And that's going to continue. It's not finished. It's by no means finished. Many of the sensors that they have in the ground to measure pressure, temperature, and all these different parameters, they're safeguarding that data. And the reason why, it's normal to have peaks in data coming back from these sensors, right?
Okay.
It's not what's happening. It's consistent data. The peaks are not happening. When a sensor puts out consistent numbers, that's a solid number. If it peaks and drops every so often, that's normal activity. That's a good sign. That means the earth is recovering, and but it's not recovering. So we have a buildup a pressure on one side of that plate. That means it will pop. And when it does pop, right, because it's such consistent pressure, it'll pop in two places. Each one of those places, well, it's going to have to be at least an 8.9 or higher.
Okay, because Standeo talked about this in the webinar. I mean, I recorded him this week, and he said something very similar to what you're saying. I don't want to give his thing away, but it was amazing. So you're saying this thing will pop, and you're talking San Francisco, the San Andreas fault line in that area.
Yes. Yeah.
8.9 or higher.
Or higher. Yeah, I'm betting on the higher part. You're looking at that in two places simultaneously, and then that will unleash everything else. That will most certainly shake loose everything else.
So these are the more bigger concerns. I mean, not that the war between Russia and Ukraine is not important, because thousands of people have been dying and it's going nowhere. So let's go there for a second, okay? And then I want to come back to the earthquakes, because you're blowing my mind on that. But since we're talking Alaska, let's stay there for a minute. Trump and Putin tomorrow. I've gotten some information from some insiders that there's a lot of chatter, and you're the only one that can confirm it, of a potential false flag to try to derail this thing. Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is. Very much so. I hope that people are, especially Christians, when you're facing a severe challenge like this, and the end result could be catastrophic globally. Technology is not going to fix it. Nothing is going to fix this except a change of heart. The only one that has the power to change the hearts of men is our Father in heaven.
Yes.
Nobody else does.
Amen.
The saints are required on this one. The saints are. In fact, I believe some of this activity is almost like an attention getter to let people know that they need to stand up and be involved. This is their moment to take a stand. They need to be involved. Because I do believe, based upon the believers, the earth is kept or not based upon the unbelievers, but based upon the believers.
I
in
agree.
fact, doesn't it say that in the word, that the earth has been held, has been kept?
Yes.
Right? Judgments have been held back for us. It's for our sakes.
Yes.
For the believers' sake, not for the unbelievers. Which means this earth is absolutely 100%. It will implode. And God's determination upon that time is geared towards, his mercy is towards those who believe. And so when we see these simultaneous activities unfold right before these major events, I do believe they are from the Father. It's a clear message, because that kind of that's the only thing that wakes us up. And when it happens over and over, it's beyond coincidence.
Would you say the Sea of Galilee turning blood red, would that be a coincidence?
All of it. Oh,
yeah. Is that
Galilee?
A sign? Sea of
Galilee. Any other lake would be, that'd be another lake.
But Galilee?
But Galilee, at this time, right before they're scheduled to have talks. So you're going to have, but I'll tell you something, Fastball. When you try to, there's a principle that happens in life. I believe that everybody can identify this principle. A lot of people in life, they'll say, well, they'll be at home and they'll say, if I can get rid of this one problem, I'll be okay. I believe everybody is mature enough to have noticed that when you rid yourself of one problem, another one comes up in another area of life. So if you get rid of money problems, you may have relation problems. If you get rid of relational problems, you may have another issue. That means there's always an attack. Evil is always at work. Satan never sleeps. He never does. In this case, if, say, these talks are successful, right?
Yes.
That will be purely up to the believers, but you're going to have this transference of activity into another area. So the believers, they're going to have to really cover everything. They're going to have to watch if there are specific areas of expertise and really pray over those areas. Right now, we have in America and in other parts of the world, we have an uprising of people against their leadership in a way that I've never seen it before, right? And this is global. And the people for about a month, I can't. It's hard to see what's happening in Russia. About a month and a half ago, people were questionable regarding Putin, right? Do you know what's happened lately?
No. What's happened?
They're becoming patriotic behind Putin's resistance to the
Is
world.
is it because they sense he may be going to do peace and end the war, and they don't want war, and are they happy about that?
I think they're believing the propaganda, right? When Trump came into office, he started to shake things up so bad. You had too many people were talking, right?
Right.
And so that really multiplied the amount of people who were telling a narrative. Those people who keep saying America's evil, and those people who keep saying, all these negative things, you see that happening in New York. But people that are saying America's evil, this, that, and the other. The people in Russia have begun to adopt some of those voices. And so
Okay.
now they're believing against the West and the movements towards peace, right? Which is causing a weird patriotic movement happen. And Iran is no different, right? There's something happening with propaganda,
Mm.
and media is reaching them. Not evidently, it's not the media that we consume. It's a different type media reaching them, somebody else's message, causing them to get behind this anti-West operation, right? And it's growing. So we're going to see. We will know after these talks. I don't believe that in the first day. I don't believe people are going to have an answer to what they think.
Right.
I do believe there could be some stalls. There could be some, initial agreements that were miscommunicated and come back. I think it's going to be a drawn out situation.
I do too.
I do.
What about this guy Zelensky? I mean, he's the odd man out. That he's got to get brought in though, don't he? At some point.
I hope that whoever his real boss is made known to the people.
Mm.
Zelensky has a boss,
Right.
and the loyalty of that boss is I think this situation could push it out to the forefront. Did you notice how he changed
Yep.
5 or 6 times?
Yeah,
Right.
I have.
It's almost like he's not in control. He's an actor initially,
Right.
a comedian, right?
Right.
But he will change on a dime. His loyalty is not really there to anybody. His boss is they're going to negotiate on behalf of their own interests. They're trying.
Is his boss Ukrainian or European?
I think his boss could be American.
Okay. Now we're getting to it.
Yeah, because you're looking at a place that's rich in minerals. There were deals and trades happening before this war ever broke out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And there are certain companies that have taken a hit since the war started. And if we didn't have any interest in Ukraine prior to the war starting, those corporations would not have taken a financial hit, but they did. That's how you can know who they are. And come to find out, they were getting these unclassified shipments from that region of the world, so we know what they're doing. Anyway, so there's a lot of under the table things happening with Ukraine and some corporations out there. All of it's going to be pushed out to the forefront. Unfortunately, I think it's going to happen after there's going to be some dust in the air.
Do you think that Trump and Putin will agree to something small, or maybe not small, but at least Trump wants a ceasefire? Just wants a ceasefire and then
he does.
down.
He does.
If he don't get it, does he go home? No press conference with Putin? Or
he's not going to give up. He's not going to. He's been frustrated with Putin before.
Right.
He's openly spoke about that, but then he came back. When he's after something, he's not going to stop.
No, you're right.
If it's one thing he doesn't do, he doesn't drop the deal. He'll come back to that deal. So he's working on peace. He wants the world to be.
And I'm so happy.
Peace.
I'm happy that he wants peace. I mean,
he does. He does.
Know.
He genuinely does. Now Putin wants a bigger nation.
Yep.
He wants his nation to have some grandeur or something. And I fear that that's going to be the cause that will stop him from, conforming to
Achieving.
what they really want. And
Yeah.
he does not trust NATO, right? So
No,
this is
no.
this is going to cause. I believe they tried. The West and NATO have become a lot closer before this Putin Trump meeting, right?
Yep.
For a reason. He doesn't trust NATO. And ultimately, this may boil down to Putin and the USA. It just may.
Yeah,
It just
I
may,
think it
because
does.
he didn't trust NATO.
Nope.
NATO has lied too many times. If he allows that land, here's one problem I see personally. Despite what the initial agreements are, if Putin allows territory to be kept by the Ukrainians, it's right at the doorstep of Russia for the Ukraine, right? So he's going to have some sort of agreement that NATO or nobody else will ever set up, operations in that area. Because if he does not take that territory, he cannot secure Russia.
Well, I think
Anybody could easily mount forces
so
there,
you're
right?
talking, let's
And begin
say,
to go against.
you're saying that, let's just say that Putin's going to get to keep the 19% of Russia of Ukraine that he's got, including Crimea. You're saying that the question is going to be, though, what's the border there? Who's going to secure that border? You're saying NATO can't show up and just start stacking soldiers right on that Russian line. That won't cut it.
That's why he wants Ukraine. And I hate to say this, he can't have just a little piece of the Ukraine. He's got to secure the greater majority of the Ukraine.
You've always said that since 2014. Yeah. I remember I was in Jamaica preaching a revival, and when the Little Green Men, and basically he took Crimea, and then and I remember doing a show from Jamaica, and I asked you a question about what was happening. You said Putin is now in Ukraine, and he will never leave. He will never leave.
That's right.
And you also said that once he got in Syria, he would never leave, and he's still there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
he has to. If he does not, he knows he's going to lose Russia. Russia will be democratized, so to speak. It's going to be taken over by the West. The only thing stopping Russia from becoming a modern day country as far as its politics is the Ukraine. And that's a corridor, right? That belongs to somebody else, and NATO is all around that corridor. So to him, he sees that as a major vulnerability.
Yeah.
I don't see a scenario where he just gives that up.
No, I don't either.
I just don't see a scenario when he does that. So what that means is this. If Putin makes a threat, it's going to be a real one. And if he threatens anything nuclear, it's going to be real. It's not going to be rhetoric. It will not be rhetoric. It's going to be real. He understands who he's dealing with Trump.
He can't bluff Trump. He has got to tell the truth. He's got to be real if he talks.
That's right. That's right. And believe me, he's already been talked down. The public does not know everything that happens between nations, right? He's been talked down a few times from launching some pretty bad things. So, this time, if he threatens, if there's no deal made, it's going to be a guaranteed World War III scenario.
That's what
the one that everybody's drawn into.
That's what I've been telling people, Mike, that this is dangerous meeting, because we're either going to get something moving toward peace, or it's going to fan the flames of war, and I'm talking World War III.
That's right. That's right.
This is a make or break it day tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They're going to have to, whatever they do, everything hinges on this one meeting right here. Everything hinges on this. And to have that in Alaska, of a neutral area, so to speak, right? Because he's got his fleet is right in the backyard, right there behind them for backup. This is a real deal. It's a real deal. So this is a make or break situation.
All right, Mike, let's go back. I know I jumped away from the earthquakes, and I promised I'd go back there. There's a lot to talk about, but let's go back there, because you're saying that earthquake of 8.8, which was the sixth largest, tied for the sixth largest earthquake ever, okay?
Right.
And what it did is it moved the tectonic plates over in the subduction zone over in the United States area.
Yeah.
And that might have been the reason that the ice broke loose in Alaska. And with the ice breaking loose, that means that the ice caps are melting, and underwater the ice is melting. That's lodged into these crevices of these fault lines. So you're saying that we're on the verge of a 8.9, 9.2, 9.5, whatever in San Francisco. I mean, that's or somewhere along the San Andrea. Would you say that?
Yeah. Yep, right along that Pacific plate, we're going to have some big problems. Peru, for example, right? Peru and the Nazca plate, the Coast plate, Caribbean plate. We're going to have some activity from those plates. The Coast plate's a fairly new plate. It's new, the whole bunch, and there's no way it stays stationary. Now, it's still going to be the cork, right? Because it's holding the pressure of the other plates back a little bit. It's a good gauge to see where the plates are moving over time. And the reason why is because over time, certain fault lines disappear altogether. Certain continents disappear altogether. New ones appear, right? But we're having major movements. Most of these plates move at a rate from anywhere from 5 millimeters to about 110 millimeters per year, right?
Wow.
That movement has been so sporadic that there's certain places like the Pacific plate has moved 400 millimeters in only 6 months. And it's starting to warp. Right, so the Pacific plate is warping. It's actually warping itself. You have the southern side moving faster than the northern portions of that plate. So it's doing some sort of a twist type deal. That's going to cause some major instabilities. Then you have the Nazca plate, which is acting on the Scotia plate and the South American plate, and you have all these tectonic pressures building up all over the place, Pastor Paul. We have this melt event in Alaska, for example. That same melt event, when Russia had its earthquake, there was a heat jump up to, I believe it was 400 degrees in the water.
What?
Right? Now you may ask, how can you have that? Nothing is boiling. If you take distilled water, if you ever want to make superheated water, here's an experiment, but don't let kids do it. Take some distilled water, right?
Okay.
Put distilled water in a coffee cup. You put it on high for about 2 minutes.
In a microwave.
You take it out, it's not going to be boiling. In the microwave, it's not going to be boiling, right?
Right.
Then you stand back and drop a pinch of sugar in it and back off. As soon as that sugar hits, it's going to be a violent reaction. In fact, anything that hits that water is going to be a violent reaction. Okay, that's what's sitting under the ocean, superheated water.
Wow.
Pastor Paul, that water, with these earthquakes that we're having, is starting to let that superheated water come up.
I see.
And when it hits the seawater, a violent reaction it has. In fact, they still haven't come out to tell people what happened in the area of that 8.8 in the ocean. But the same thing is going to begin to happen in the Pacific plate, the Juan de Fuca plate, near up there where Alaska is, and everything else. We're going to really start seeing some pretty violent activity coming from the oceans with these earthquakes. And the earthquakes are going to magnify, both in frequency, duration, and also magnitude.
Now, when and I know the 8.8 earthquake happened, tsunami happened, but 7 volcanoes erupted simultaneously, including the big one that had been dormant for 600 years.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question. If and when the plate over in Cascadia subduction zone over by Washington State, it gives. We have a 9.4 earthquake or something like that. Does Mount Rainier, maybe not even that big, maybe 8.8 again. Does Mount Rainier blow? It hasn't done anything for, I don't know, hundreds of years. Does it blow too?
Well, sadly, it's Mount Rainier is already waking up. It's already waking up, right? I'll tell you right now, it does not need any shaking to do its damage. I believe the walls are thin. It's It's having more and more geoactivity out in that area. But yes, it could. Yeah, and here's the part. You don't want an earthquake like that in the Pacific Plate
No.
because you have three. I know everybody knows about Yellowstone. I'll give a hint of Tamaulipas. I'm always talking about Tamaulipas because I want people to understand that Tamaulipas has two brothers in the Pacific Ocean, right?
Okay.
These are massive volcanoes. These are world enders. Let's put it that way. All of them are world enders. You're looking at a tube that goes down to an endless source of magma. If they blow, it'll make Yellowstone look like a pinprick, right? So you're looking at a volume that's indescribable. There's no way anybody can measure.
And it's up in
that
Alaska.
Volume. No. It's in
which
the
one
Pacific Ocean.
Oh, you're talking about the one in the Pacific.
They're two unnamed. I don't know what you call them. They're not super volcanoes. They're much, much bigger. That are just like Tamaulipas, right?
Okay.
They're just like Tamaulipas is one of the biggest volcanoes
It's
in
gigantic.
the solar system.
It's gigantic.
In the solar system. Well, there are two more in the Pacific Ocean. Under that plate, because they always say things are dormant because of all the debris and everything. But since LiDAR scans have been done and newer echo scans, they have found some pretty big monsters in the ocean. And if it blows, it will send debris up, way up in the atmosphere, at least up to 25,000 feet. It will coat the earth in ash in less than a week. That's how much material could be ejected.
What?
So I'm saying this to let you know there are some bad things, right? Potential super disasters on the earth. That could be unleashed due to this shaking. In fact, scientists will start to come out and tell everybody that there's some unsurvivable scenarios they will not discuss, but they are absolutely possible at any moment.
So I had a couple guys who I interviewed for the webinar that said that this tilting is taking place. Is the tilting taking place, Mike?
Yes, it is.
Is it a serious? Is that what's causing part of the problems? The tilt.
Well, it's going to be a parameter that will help. The shaking and the eruptions and everything else be a little more extreme, yeah. And because if you tilt, you're changing rotational inertia. If that changes, then plate weights will change. The actual weight of the plates and the direction in which it pulls is going to alter too. Can you imagine if you're tilted 15 degrees suddenly, right? For example, the Pacific plate, like the Nazca plate, is pulling to the east.
Okay.
The North American plate is pulling to the east. Can you imagine that suddenly changing and pulling to the north? If that ever happened, then all that built up pressure is going to release in certain areas, that would be about a 12.0. We don't have a gauge for that type of earthquake. That would shake the earth. That would shake the entire globe multiple times. So we're looking at some real scenarios that are quite serious.
So warning, planet Earth. I mean, warning. It's true. I mean, we're at a very volatile time. Let me ask you a question, because today an Australian flight with about 200 some people on it just dropped out of the sky. It fell 27,000 feet before they could stop. They stopped at less than 10,000 feet to go.
Yeah.
What in the world caused that, Mike?
Well, there was some more. Didn't we have another aircraft did the same thing? Well,
yes, we did.
Similar. Yeah, did the same thing.
Yep.
And then there was some small aircraft that just didn't make it.
A bunch of little ones are crashing everywhere. That's happening everywhere.
Pastor, electronics, right?
Yep.
Anything man-made is not perfect. And we, being the geniuses we are, have become so dependent upon our own ideas that we actually unleashed something called AI. Right? We have. And people, here's the bad part. People have gotten a hold through AI, right? Any one of your listeners at home can build very complicated devices with all the items and modules purchased from Amazon. to cause a plane to fall out the sky. That's the
Wow.
bad part.
Whoa. Are you,
Okay.
wait a minute. Are you serious about this?
Yes, you no longer have to know mathematics. You don't have to know, complex large language model algorithms. You just simply ask AI, and I'm telling you right now, it can help you build anything you want to. This is right now. This is real right now. So you have a lot of people out there who have already made devices that cause an aircraft's computer and redundant computers to start reading wrong numbers.
And that will cause, obviously that'll cause a crash.
Reading wrong numbers. The airline industry, here's the only alternative. The airline industry is going to have to update every single aircraft in the inventory.
That's going to take every single one. That's a lot of money and take a lot of time. And they're going to have to do it. There won't be as many airplanes available. Prices of tickets are going to go up because they're going to retrofit going to be going.
You bet. But look at the danger zone. You can have a kid with an iPhone, right? Say he's working on something at his desk, and he inadvertently sends out a small signal that tells about 12 aircraft. It changes their vector points or something like that, or tells their GPS that they're about 15 miles off, or tells the GPS that they are 15,000 feet above where they should be. If they have that on autopilot and that data changes, that aircraft is going to take a dive down to a corrected altitude at the fastest descent rate, and everybody's gone. That's the true story behind a lot of these crashes that have been happening. And to be honest with you, some people are they're scared to death to get on aircraft. It's going to get worse. Passengers going to get worse. There's no way they can stop this. The only thing they can do is make the aircraft immune to it. So they're going to have to change the architecture of the computers on the aircrafts and their networks. They're just simply not secure.
That's going to take time, and there's going to be catastrophic events in the process. There's no doubt.
Guaranteed. And it's not that there were a few kids. We're talking about kids 11 years old that inadvertently caused an aircraft to reroute itself and to drop altitude. Right? Suppose an aircraft tries to go to 110,000 feet. It's flying at 35,000 feet, but all of a sudden the feedback says it's flying at 5,000 feet. It's going to do an altitude correction and go straight up in the air, pushing as hard as it can, all the way up until the pressurized cabin is ineffective. It's just going to be ineffective. And some of these aircraft probably could reach a point where they could go up higher than you think. At that point, they wouldn't be able to come back down again. So this is where we're living in. They messed up with AI just like they have with viruses.
And this is way more dangerous than the viruses. This is a monster that we've let, as Musk said,
it's already out.
We've let the demon out. The genie's out of the bottle. Out. Can't take it.
In fact, in the webinar, there's one aspect of AI
that you're going to talk about.
I'm going to do just a small piece of it, so people are aware, so they understand that.
You're going to do an example. You're going to do an example. Is that what you're saying, or are you going to you're going to talk about it? Okay.
I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll save that for
ahead.
the webinar. But do you have? Heidi said you had a couple maps that you might be able to be releasing in this webinar.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll save that. So Mike's going to tell us some information about AI that he can't say here, and he's also got two maps that are very important that he's going to release in the webinar. So that's important to keep in mind, folks, to get as much information as we can. We have to be careful when we're on these open platforms. So Mike, with having said all that, we also know that there was a cloudburst today. I don't know how many more these we're going to have. This happened in India. They found 55 bodies. There's hundreds missing. A cloudburst or something similar to that happened, in Milwaukee. Something similar to that just happened again up in the Smoky Mountains. I mean, they're flooding again. I mean, what is going on down in Florida, in South Florida, in Plant City, Florida? They had 11 inches of rain in 3 hours. So what's going on, Mike? These bursts. I mean, is this What's going on? Is this part of the atmospheric compression you talked about?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if you look at the map, if anybody looks at the weather map right now, in Canada, not over the USA, in Canada, they're going to notice the wind stream in a trough, a small dip in what's happening in Canada. Normally, the jet stream comes all the way down to America. It no longer does that, right?
Really? Okay.
And there's a small trough that will determine the direction of this hurricane, which I'm watching closely.
Oh, you talking about Hurricane Aaron?
Yeah, it could push it out to sea.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Or it could allow that hurricane to come inland so fast, doing maximum damage on its way into the USA. Right? That hurricane can actually come right into the USA and do massive damage if that trough persists in a specific area. Now, if that trough moves, it can actually be pushed directly out to sea.
So
because these are high pressure systems that a hurricane cannot overcome. They'll always push any low out of the way, right? But it has caused like a river, you could say, going over Canada. Not in the USA, it's over Canada. We have no airstream over the USA right now. It's all in Canada. There's a trough sitting in between two strong vortices. Based on it, that hurricane, if a gap opens up, the hurricane could be allowed to come right into the USA. If no no gap remains, the hurricane will be pushed out to sea. And so I'm watching to see if a larger dip is going to form in Canada, because if it does, that hurricane is coming straight up to it. And that's going to be the line of least resistance. And so that will be the path it takes. Even the computer models, all of them are having problems forecasting this upper massive airflow, because it's something very rare. It's not something everybody sees.
I've been noticing it. Everybody's saying, okay, all the meteorologists are saying, we're going to become a category 3 this weekend. And they got an area there in the ocean, they say, but when it gets right here, we don't know which way it's going. And you're saying that's going to be determined by the airflow in Canada.
Yep.
And you're watching that airflow in Canada. So it's interesting that the meteorologists don't say that. I mean, I know they probably don't want to give it away. I don't know. But is that why they can't? That's why they can't make a prediction, because they don't know what that airstream is going to do.
Yeah, I think they have an idea, but the modeling doesn't. Right? If they speak outside the modeling, they're fired.
No, I see.
They're going to be fired. They cannot speak outside the modeling. I believe it was a few months ago, all those meteorologists were fired for speaking outside of the modeling. So they can't even do that. They just can't do that. But that, that's going to be the contingent factor on the true direction of this hurricane.
So we're going to have to pay close attention to this. I mean, because I keep wondering, I keep looking at the high pressure systems and the low pressure systems, and when I look at the map, but I had no idea that whether it's high or low is determined what's going on in the is it the jet streams or just air currents? What do you want to call that up in Canada?
And you can call that a jet stream.
Okay.
A jet stream that the airflow is just follows that.
Yeah.
Plus, the waters are warmer than they have ever been since we've recorded everything.
So if this thing hooks and heads toward, let's say, northern Florida,
oh my Lord,
it's going to get in some really hot water, and when it does, it's going to become a monster fast.
Yeah, and remember, the hotter it gets, right?
Yep.
The more moisture a cloud can actually hold.
Oh.
So instead of holding, 900 billion tons of water, it'll be able to hold 1,800 billion tons of water.
That's not good. That's not good.
And all that drops. And then there have been times, Pastor, an event people are going to start saying is this. I mean, describe it. Imagine rain falling so fast, there's no more oxygen in the air.
What? No. Where?
Yep.
No. Yep. Are you serious about this? Are you serious?
Yes, that's going to start happening everywhere.
Raining so hard that there's no oxygen in the air because it's saturated with water and moisture, right?
That's right.
Will people just drown? Will they just drown in their own?
Well, they won't be able to breathe, and hopefully, that event when that happens, it'll happen for about 2 minutes. About 2 minutes.
That's enough to
It'll
kill
stay
me,
like that.
Mike. I mean, I'm heaven bound if that's the case. Well,
And you know what's so sad, Pass back in the 1920s, right? There was 2 cases of it. It happened 2 times for about 15 seconds. Last year it happened 4 times. This year it's going to start happening everywhere. The atmosphere has finally hit a point, a trigger point where saturation is at a level where that downstream is going to be just overwhelming. It'll be like somebody dumping a bucket of water, like a waterfall. It'll look just like a waterfall.
Yeah,
Imagine, 5 inches of rain falling in less than 45 seconds or something like that.
Mike,
it'd be
like we'll be like we're being waterboarded almost. I mean, you're telling
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. If in the past events like that were able to crush a house, that's what that event can do. It can crush a house. And we're going to start having that everywhere.
Okay. Now, so it's going to be bad for hurricanes. It's just, I have a bad, there's just been too much. It's been so hot down here in Florida. It's been incredible. 95, 98 every day. It just never, and real humid. You can't, real humid. You better have air conditioning going all the time and it's pulling the water. So let me ask you, so are we getting ready to go into a period of time now because the atmospheric compression? So what about the hail, the wind? I mean, what's going to go?
Both will increase. Okay. Both will increase, and it will get to the point where they will not be able to have any small boats will not be able to be on the water.
They'll just cancel them. They'll just say that's it.
Yeah, they on the coastlines too. People will start moving away from the coasts because there's going to be too much humidity. Can you imagine being in an environment where the humidity is 100% or higher on a consistent basis?
No,
never going below 100. That's what we're going to start seeing, to the point where it'll be steam on the water all night long until the sun rises and depreciates some of the mist coming up from the water. That those temperatures will be that consistent, that high. That'll be followed. All of this is a part of the process of atmospheric compression, and then all of that years later is going to be followed by no rain whatsoever. No rain whatsoever.
I mean, that's because
when it's raining the way it is, right?
Right.
As it continues to rain, there's going to be a lot of mold and mildew issues all over all the continents. As that continues, the temperatures will continue to fluctuate and change and get towards a warmer, types of water. But the chemistry of the water is changing. As the ice melts, as the sea ice melts, as glacial ice melts, we're going to have a chemical change in the water. That chemical change, some of those chemicals will translate into the clouds. This is going to change the overall system and how things function and operate. When that takes place, it'll take, that's almost a 1,000-year cycle before it goes back to normal again. And past fall has happened before. This is a problem. This is a cyclical change that is seldom discussed. I don't know why they won't discuss it, but we have cyclical events. This has happened before. All the chemistry in the water changed. The weather patterns altered. They were changed. We have oceans beneath the oceans of this, you might as well say, superheated, distilled, purified water. That's going to double the effects that we have now as this hot water breaches the surface to go into our waters, right?
Yeah.
Many people don't know this. That's why in America, they capped off certain lakes. Let's just say that everything in America is strategically positioned, right? And it's very difficult I haven't heard anybody discuss some things I know for a fact, some things that many people know for a fact. Many of these lakes are not natural within the USA. They're not natural.
Well, how'd they get there then? I mean,
they're not natural. Underneath the USA there's a different story happening below the USA. And some of these lakes are purposely put where they are, purposely put there. Well, I'll put it this way: there's no excuse for us to ever have a lack of fresh water. How about that? There's no excuse for that. But that's a different story.
Yes.
But they things are different like this because these people they try to hide so much. Look at the secrecy behind UFOs. It's ridiculous, right?
Let's talk
If
about
if it's a nonsense subject, what's the secrecy for?
So what do you think
Right?
about this? What do you think about Atlas? I mean, I'm not saying it's UFO right here, but let's just ask you some question because there is no tail yet. It's traveling at an enormous speed. Avi Loeb is a pretty smart guy. He's a leading astrophysicist at Harvard. He's saying, look, something's with an intelligence is directing it. I can go along with that if God is throwing it, but is there something going on here? This is the third one to come through in a little bit here. What's going on, Mike?
Well, they still never really classified Oumuamua what it was, definitively.
That's right.
I think that you can have exotic situations out there, and as far as it being some kind of a ship or something, right? He has to have seen some things. Well, look at the ruins in the Middle East, right?
Yep.
Would it shock you to know that real technology can look just like an obelisk? A stone obelisk.
I can believe that now that I've seen what AI can do. I can believe that some kind of mirage, some kind of cloaking, and not cloaking, but mirage or some type of holographic type ability to create something that's not there. Yes,
we have that too. Let's take a column from one of these Grecian buildings.
Okay.
One of these old buildings, right?
Okay.
Take a column.
Okay.
What if you found out that column made of stone was actually made of a very special type of stone, right? And inside that column were elements positioned just like electronic components to do very specific things. Take a transistor, for example, right? All the stuff we have now is essentially based upon a transistor. It allows things to operate. And so in a transistor, you have silicon, germanium, right? You have things that separate electrons. So electrons can be controlled. That's what electronics does. It controls the movement of electrons. Or let's say the potential of electrons. Well, some of the ancient technology did the exact same thing, right?
Okay.
The exact same thing. It had germanium in it. It has silicon in it. The same elements that are inside of a transistor are in some of these ancient buildings.
Really?
Built into it. And they also have the telltale arc marks, where obviously a massive amount of electrons are flowing through them. The burn marks, right?
Okay.
But they did it in a way that no one in modern times can replicate. Nobody can replicate that stuff. Nobody. And you're just talking about a stone block that does a job of about 1,000 transistors.
Okay, so is that why these
and
pyramids?
1,000 capacitors.
Is this why these pyramids that they're finding now under the pyramids? These two, they think they're almost like cores, but I mean, were the pyramids? Were they some type of power plant or some kind of what was going on there?
I have my idea of the pyramids, but regardless of what they call them, the pyramids were constructed in a very meticulous way, and they consist of many types of minerals, right? And you have the major, they're guardians over the truth of pyramids. They know that the pyramids of Egypt, there's a twin set of those pyramids here on this earth.
You mean somewhere else on the earth besides Egypt?
On the earth, that's right. That's right, because they're in a jungle. It was very difficult to see them in the first place.
Okay, so
right?
but the Mayans,
identical set.
Was it the Mayans? Was it the Peru?
No. The Mayans were, they had their stuff and they have their things in their cities. They have massive cities, but there are lots of civilizations that did the exact same thing all over the earth. Look at Ohio. Look at the pyramid in Ohio. Well, what's a pyramid doing in Ohio
I don't
with the
know.
Egyptian with that same architecture,
I don't
right?
know. There's
We're talking about the exact same. So I don't subscribe to a bunch, 5 billion people sat there with a saw and sawed through a stone. You know why, Pascal?
why?
This will disprove that theory in a heartbeat.
Okay.
There are too many stones that have mistakes in them, and they discarded that stone. Think of a stone that's been cut, but the cut was a mistake. The cut goes down about 2.5 feet. It's a mistake, so they discard it. Now, you don't sit there and solve for 6 years on a mistake
No.
and go 2 feet down, right? You
No,
don't do
no.
that.
So you had to have had some kind of
That's
machinery
right.
or
There you go. There you
capability,
go.
laser,
There you go.
something.
There you go. There you go. That disproves that was so easily disproved. But if they don't share those type things,
Well,
people have no choice but to say,
I
no,
mean,
they had to do it by a bunch of people.
I know my son went to Peru and he went to Acapulco. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. He went and seen some of the monolithic stones.
Did he put a piece of paper in between?
He couldn't. And he said, "There's no mortar.
There's no way. That's right.
So how did they? You can't
That's right.
come up with stones. You can't chisel that and make it that.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
He said he was blown away. He still don't, in his mind, he does not know how they did it. They had to have had.
They
something.
can't do it today. They
can't even do it
today.
right now. You can't
because they can't move it.
There's
That's
no.
right.
First of all, they can't move it, and second one, I don't even know if they got a diamond tip good enough to do it.
Yeah. And the big telltale thing is, with all these sites, they have these stones that were discarded, right? That have mistakes in them.
Yeah, Machu Picchu.
They have mistakes. Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Yeah, Machu Picchu.
Okay.
But they have these big stones with mistakes in them.
Now,
if you make a mistake like that, that's 2.5 feet deep. About, that's 22 feet long and 2.5 feet deep. You don't have a bunch of people sawing for 30 years or 100 years on the same mistake. You don't do that.
No,
right?
nobody would do that.
You don't do that.
These guys were brilliant. These guys were brilliant.
There you go. If people would just think about that, that would disprove this idea that they had millions of people on a saw for about 10 years to get one stone in place. That's ridiculous, right?
Right.
They have quarries with these stones that have cut mistakes in them. And the quarries were miles away.
Yeah, I know it.
From the actual site.
How'd they get these big stones that weigh 20,000
They did not
pounds?
roll them on trees. They didn't roll them on trees. The U.S. government knows how. There was a man in Florida that knew how.
Yeah, he knew.
There's a guy right now.
He knew how to levitate them somehow.
There's a guy in Denver right now that knows how, right? And it's a very simple answer. There are minerals on this planet that will increase magnetism to a great. You think of a magnet, a natural Earth magnet, right?
Okay, I got you.
Think of a material that can amplify the effects of a magnet about, I think it was 200 times. So that means your refrigerator magnet can now pick up all the cars in your neighborhood.
Yeah, it could.
Think about that. So you're looking at elements that do things just like that. Exotic elements that used to be plentiful on the earth. Well, if you have an element like that, what are people going to do? They're going to mine it. They're going to mine it and utilize it until it doesn't exist. They're going to put it in technology. And then what happens in a cataclysm? It gets buried under miles and miles of ash and rock and dirt. We haven't dug down to all of it yet, but we found a lot of it. So the digger they deep, the more they find.
Wow.
More advanced societies and things and technology. It's a very simple story, but it's not taught. It's not. Nobody's teaching it. So people come up with these, they have to have some kind of conclusion in their minds, and they just leave out big portions of history. So I hope that everybody understands that with these stones, where they have these mistakes in them, that you don't make the same mistake.
No.
And have hundreds of people do that over years. You don't do that. So something else was cutting this, and they said, oops, that laser went through that rock crooked. Let's discard it. And they got rid of it. But these exotic elements you can put them under granite, magnify an entire block of granite, negating the weight of that granite. And then you can push it easily.
Wow.
They knew how to do it. It wasn't magic. It was, we're missing many elements on the earth that they had back in those times.
That had
King Solomon was said to have had a carpet, right? A carpet. They would dig for a specific type dust that almost smelled like sulfur, sugary sulfur, or something like that. This dust would interact with the magnetic field of the earth, and so anything it saturated, the weight was negated. Again, you're dealing with missing elements that was just as powerful as uranium without the radiation, right?
Wow. Yeah, because you wouldn't have radiation.
Absolutely. There is an element. I'll say it again. There's one element that also exists that does put out just as much power as uranium without the radiation. But they must have used all this stuff up. It's buried deep down in the earth. They even have signatures of massive amounts of them. They can't reach them. They're sitting there, magma and everything. You can't go down there. You'd never live to get them. Nothing would survive to get them.
I see.
Yeah.
So in other words, they had technologies that we don't have because they had chemicals. They had minerals and metals that we don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. We simply don't have them. And so here we are with that. And it's a very simple story. It's just not, they like to hide things, to control the narrative so that, people are essentially.
So they can sell us, so they can dumb us down.
See, so you're dependent on them.
I know.
You're not going to totally get rid of what you're dependent on. No matter how mad you get at it, you're going to keep it around because you have a dependency on it. And to be honest with you, a person, they've been duped into believing that by themselves they can't do anything. That's what they believe.
That's really bad, and that's the truth. That's what they're convincing people of, and they're also convincing people not to think for yourself, not to rationalize, not to think, but just go along with what
they perfected that.
Yeah,
because people are going along with somebody else's narrative.
Yeah,
they are.
How do you feel about? By the way, just throw this in there. How do you feel about the guy, the communist guy, Zamdami?
Why is he?
Why is he getting so much airtime? I mean,
you know what gets me is that, okay, here's what gets me. Are we not a Christian nation?
Yes, we are.
Okay, number one, why is that offensive to people? And why do people all of a sudden act so ashamed of Christ? If people believed in Christ, they would not, if somebody came in your chat room and said Jesus was not real, that person would probably have a difficult time staying there.
Yeah,
right? Because naturally within a believer, a defense would come up.
Absolutely.
A truth would come up.
Right.
So this guy is, everything he talks about has the basis of a Muslim standard.
It does.
Right?
Yes, it
does. And
it
goes against every principle of a person getting off their two lazy marshmallows and doing actual work. This guy is almost like he's anti-work.
He is anti-work. He
what's happened?
It's pitiful. He's a socialist communist.
He's worse than that. He needs a brand new category, because you can't be a communist, a socialist, an anarchist, and everything else. This guy is all at the same time.
And a Muslim at the same time.
You're right.
No.
So he needs a new category. But Pastor, it's pitiful that, because I know people who are not educated to understand that life is not a free ride. Right?
Exactly.
You have to actually contribute to this nation.
Yes,
no house survives unless you contribute to it.
That's right.
And for some reason, there's a generation out here that does not understand that if you don't contribute to a house, it's going to collapse. They don't understand that this guy's pushing a narrative that, hey, no, let's continue with pacifying those who don't want to do anything. No, that should never be. That should never be. That should never be.
No,
that should never be.
It's a dangerous doctrine that he's preaching. And you would think, I understand that the right is just saying this guy's a nut. This will never work. But what I can't figure out is on the left, they know this guy's a nut. They know that don't work. I mean, don't they? Or are they?
No, they don't. No,
Come on.
Just realize this is a real problem, right? Because I engage, I say about at least twice a week groups in this very conversation. There are too many kids who have been brought up in a household that had no income. This is what's happened.
Okay.
They've had no income. So all the kids know is that if you utilize the system, you can survive.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what they know.
Yep.
That's what they know. This is their environment.
We've created a nanny state.
That's right. And you have to people have to go out there and educate these kids as much as possible to let them know, that, gently, that's not the way it works. And see those people you see on television, you can do that too if you contribute. You have to be a contributor to continue to go forward, right? You have to plant a seed and water it and take care of it in order to eat. It's very simple.
I don't think they want.
Concept.
I think they want to have a subservient.
They don't understand it.
Well, I think the ruling class wants to have a subservient class. There's the ruling class and the rest of us. I think that's really the concept that they want. That's what they want. The ruling class and then the slaves. Is that?
I'll give you a secret.
Okay.
If you have people that are dependent upon the system, right? They know it infuriates the hardworking person.
Yes, it does.
So you have two different paradigms. But if you keep a person around who's only going to consume, you cause tension between those who understand what hard work is.
Yes, it does.
You need that tension as a punishment towards an emphasis so they can continue to rule. Have you noticed that every time there's a issue where something is about to be fully exposed, the same issue arises? You ready? At first, is the poor and the rich. They get into some sort of an argument or disagreement or something like that. Then you have these explosive race comments. It's the same pattern every single time. And then that trickles over to political division. And then that, further gives, gains to these protests. And then action is taken, and you see it on the news. And it continues to go forward. Meanwhile, these guys are doing exactly what they need to do while everybody else is distracted with what people call real life. Right?
Yeah.
It truly is a false flag of almost perfect design for evil people, because it's very difficult to see people actually believe in these race wars, the false historical points people push most often, and they fall for the same trick every time. Every single time they fall for it, because they're doing it over. We've been right here where we're at too many times. Why do we keep going back to this? The same thing we're in. Why?
I don't know.
We're being duped into going back to it because we cannot see when it starts. They can, but we cannot. When we start to unify and have too much power, this happens every single time. And normally when people unify, they start to notice, hey, something is wrong with our history, or something is wrong with the narrative they're giving.
Yeah.
Right. And then this happens every single time.
It's amazing.
That's what in your last webinar, that's what we were talking about. That the people are programmed. They cannot see this because everything that comes out of their mouths is what came from somebody else. One of these people who have designed this system. Ultimately, that came from Satan.
They can't think for themselves. They're being programmed. And you said it in the last webinar, folks. If you didn't get it, you can still get it. And that is these 5 steps that are being procedures. I think Mike brought out.
That's right.
It's being used and it's working. It's working, Mike. It's working.
And the only way to overcome that is with kingdom thinking.
Hey,
and that means a person would have to regard the words of Christ, right? Really regard the words of Christ,
you're right.
Because only through him can a person be free, following his footsteps. Or else, if we don't, we're just doing exactly what they want us to do.
You're right. Mike, this was pretty powerful tonight, to be quite honest. I mean, really powerful, actually. I'm going to think about that, the air turning into water all night. I'll be choking tonight through the night. I got to keep my eyes open, okay? Mike, thank you so much for this. And, of course, I'll see you tomorrow as we'll be taping the webinar.
Yes.
Thank you always for bringing some very, very powerful information and very stimulating dialogue to keep us all thinking. Because, see, if we don't, we become these mindless robots. and they will drift us away from the gospel. They will drift us away from Christ.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming forward and bringing this information.
My honor to help, Pastor Paul. Always. It really is my honor to help.
I appreciate it, and it's my honor to have you. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Best Paul. God bless.
All right.